We'll move to item B, consider approving a city-operated animal adoption program and a resolution authorizing amendment of the schedule of fees and charges by adding animal adoption-related fees. Presentation made by Animal Services Manager Amanda Weddle. Amanda,
Good morning.
you're up.
So we started our in-house adoptions October 1st. And the purpose of this was to reduce the unaltered animals within the city limits, provide increased avenues for subjects to adopt animals, as well as increased avenues for rescue transfers and reduce euthanasias of adoptable animals. So on October 1st, we posted on our website that we have started in-house adoptions. The process of this is you'll come in, you'll sign in with the front desk so that we know how we're going to help you. And it's because we have a couple other options, which I'll get into in a little bit. You'll meet with our outcome coordinator, and our outcome coordinator is going to do a brief interview and just get to know you, to know what your lifestyle is like, and to see what type of animal is best going to fit you. She's then going to go and get the animal that you're desired to look at and give you time to meet and greet that animal to see how y'all fit together. Once the family has decided that they want to take this baby home, they're going to fill out the contract, and we're going to set up a vet appointment with our vendor vets. That is going to be for the spay or neuter and rabies vaccination. They already have their core vaccines in the shelter upon entry. On the day of the surgery, our officers are going to take the animal to the vet clinic, and we have all the paperwork with the vaccine history for the vet. The vet's going to do the procedure, and then the vet's going to post-op contact the owner and tell them when to pick up. And then the owner picks up the animal from the vet, and they get to enjoy a new family member. So the appointment for the spay and neuter, like I said, is scheduled at the time of adoption. And we have a contact with the vendor vets that we call directly. We utilize the A number of that animal so we don't flood their systems with 100 Bellas or 100 Buddies, anything like that. And so that also helps us track how many we are sending to them at the invoicing time. The animal is microchipped at our facility, and it's relocated to another area of the shelter where it's no longer on the adoption floor. On the day of the surgery, like I said, we will transport to the vet, and the vet takes care of everything. Eventually, what we want to look at, and one of these we have already started rolling out, is the leptospirosis vaccine. It is not previously in our vaccines at entry. However, the vets have expressed that it is now a core vaccine, so we have added it to our protocol. Heartworm tests, we want to add that as well because it is a lengthy and expensive treatment for heartworms. And so we want to make sure that we pre-test before someone has fallen in love with this animal. Same with feline leukemia and FIV. So this is a very contagious virus for cats. It doesn't mean that they can't live in a happy, healthy home. It's just saying that they can't be around other non-infected animals. And so we want to make sure that we are testing for that to ensure that we're not infecting a whole household. So adoption fees, when we were looking at the adoption fees, we already had fees set up for livestock and small animals such as birds and pocket pets. When we were looking at it, we wanted to make sure we could recoup some of the surgical costs. We did get a discounted rate from the vets for the surgeries, but we have a limited amount in the budget as far as the care. So we did look at the cost of the spay or neuter and the rabies vaccine, and we are requesting that the fees be set at $150 for dogs, $90 for adult cats, and $120 for kittens. This was based on a fee calculator that we did on what we are spending, as well as we did compare other area adoption centers. We are a little higher on cats. However, on the dogs, we're right in the average. We also have a rescue protocol now, and they fill out an application to be kept on file for the right to pull from the shelter. It lists who we are authorized to come and get the animals, so that just a random person can't say, I'm going to come and pull for PAWS. They have to be authorized by PAWS to come and get the animal. We do actually, as of yesterday, the transfer form for each animal at time of transfer was approved by legal. So we now have that to utilize for each animal that is transferred from our shelter to the rescue. The rescue representative, like I said, will be on the approved list. And the most important thing for the welfare of the animals, the rescues may not have a chargeable welfare violation for animals. So on the first 3 days of adoptions, we had 3 dogs adopted, 2 of which had their surgery last week and went home same day. The third one has his surgery this week. I can actually update this. We had 2 cat adoptions yesterday as well, and they are set for surgery later on this week. We did have 1 emu adopted, so that was a little fun. Concho Valley Paws pulled 4 dogs last week after the first, and Critter Shack came over and pulled 8 cats. So I feel like to start it off where we haven't had anything in-house for 5 years, this is a good start. We have also listened to the public as far as wanting to be able to walk the dogs in the shelter. It is a great benefit to the animals for socialization, for behavioral purposes, and so we did start the Walk to Rehome program. If an adult wants to come and walk, they will come sign in, sign the waiver, gear up with our leash and our treats so that we're keeping everything in-house and ensure that the animals are not getting unnecessarily sick or the integrity of the leash is not compromised. They get to walk and bond with the animal so the animal gains confidence. And then if they have any behavioral issues, health issues, they let us know as well. Number 1, so we can take care of the animal. Number 2, if they have special traits that they're seeing with these animals, it helps with the adoption. So our future goals, we do want to look at expanding hours of operation. We are not going to be looking at this until after the first of the year to get through the holidays, make sure there's no major changes at that point. When we do look at that, we are going to look at opening on a Saturday, but we want to be prepared to do that in field services as well as shelter operations. We are looking at a full-scale volunteer program, but at this time, there's no time frame on it. We want to make sure that we have it right, and so we are taking our time to develop it. Same with the foster program. We are sending those animals out to homes. We want to make sure that our process is correct and full. We do ask that the city council look at the adoption fees and consider approving them so that we can charge. We do find if you do not charge an adoption fee, emotional responses are more often than not the factor of whether or not you adopt, and they may not think through fully. So we want to ensure that we have an adoption fee that people are being conscientious about their decisions before they sign the contract and take on the life of an animal. Any questions?
Oh, I'm sure we've got several questions, but we'll. Well, it's cool. I mean, it's why we're here. Well, number 1, Amanda, thank you for, I think last week we were without a euthanasia for the first time in a long time, and so compliments for that. I think this is the start of a process and a transition from PAWS to us managing our adoption. We've seen other people come in. I was at a walk this weekend and was visiting with some PAWS employees, and they were absolutely outstanding. They were still out there promoting dogs, and everybody was doing the right thing, okay, which is always a good step forward. We want this to be successful, and it's going to be kind of a work in progress as we move forward, but thanks for initiating that. I want to thank Morgan and her crew and Angela for providing the backbone of this for many, many years, and we're at a good point to move forward. So it's kind of like a relay. We're in the second, third leg of it. Let's keep it going, and with that, I'll open it up for questions. How about it, Karen?
Absolutely want to underscore everything that the mayor said, and especially a nod to Morgan and Angela, because it is a collaboration, and going forward, we're going to need their expertise and their experience to factor into what you decide. It looks really great. We're hopeful, and we are dedicated to walking alongside you, whatever that means. I hope fellow council members will show up and walk a dog so that they understand what's happening out there. I have a couple of quick questions. Are you charging a fee to the public to surrender a pet?
There is an owner surrender fee. There currently is already, yes.
Okay, and what is that fee?
So they have an impound fee of $36 and then the owner surrender fee $10, so they do end up paying 36, excuse me.
46.
46, yes.
I just hope that we will all keep a close eye on that because we have a public accustomed to acquiring shelter and pause animals for free. And so there's a risk that if you are charged to surrender an animal, that they may take Buffy or Spot home and just let it go. So I'll be curious to hear a recap in a couple of months about how that's proceeding, how people are behaving when you're asking for a surrender fee. Spay and neuter, glad to hear that you've got a program in place and you're ready to proceed. You have veterinary partners. Is the adopter paying the fee to the shelter or to the vet?
They would be paying the adoption fee at the shelter.
Good.
And then we will be invoiced by the vets based on how many they do that month for us to pay them for the surgical process.
Okay, good. So the adopter is covering that cost before they remove the animal or pick the animal out of the vet. Perfect. After hours, we hear about that a lot. What happens if you need help after working hours or on the weekend? What procedure would you like the public to utilize to get assistance if they see a problem or if they need help?
There are emergency on-call officers every day. The police department gets the initial call, they assess the call, they contact the on-call officer if needed, and the officer responds. They respond to quite a few calls on the weekends regularly and after hours at night.
Okay, thank you for that. That should be in big letters on the website, probably. I think that's it for me. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Mary? Patrick?
Hello.
Hello.
It looks like you've done a lot in the 3 weeks that you've been here. Has it even been 3 weeks yet?
This is week 4.
Okay. Well, good job. I love all the changes. From a new cat owner myself, what happens if somebody gets especially for cats, and I get the not euthanasia, spay and neuter is included in those fees, correct?
Yes.
So it's just a one-time fee, then they get to pick up their cat after paying that fee or after it's fixed.
Yes.
What happens if, and I don't know if there's a process, and I don't want it to be misused. Our first 2 cats that we paid a lot of money to have fixed ran away or got picked up by somebody. I mean, they were chipped, everything, but I don't know that many people chip cats if they want the cat, right? They don't. It either ran away or somebody picked it up on purpose. Is there any way we can have a policy of something like that? If something like that happens, then maybe it's a reduced fee, just the spay and neuter fee to get another one. I don't want it to be misused, right? I don't want people to just come, but I feel like if with that fee, they're not going to be coming to pay that every time and pick up a cat. But I don't want it to be too expensive if something happened that was not their fault. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're
Okay.
saying. My caution on that is that animals are considered property. So when you're doing a adoption, they are signing ownership of that property. It is out of the shelter's hands. Now, we have a provision if it doesn't work out within the first 5 days, that they can return it without paying a surrender fee integrated into the adoption contract. But as far as a replacement animal, I would be very hesitant on that because we do counsel them on responsible pet ownership and making sure that they are acclimating the animal in a safe, confined environment when they initially take it home.
Okay. She just told me I'm an unresponsible.
I didn't
pet
know where to
owner.
go with
That
that
is not what I
replacement cat
said.
fee.
That's
We're
what
all
she just
just
told me.
keeping a straight face. Can I
Yeah.
get a replacement from a goldfish? I get it.
I was gonna say it for Patrick.
Exactly. Anyway.
Well,
There is-
the 2 we have now have never been able to go outside because of that reason. My daughter would be heartbroken.
So there is a adoption period for animals. It's a 3-3-3 rule. So So within the first 3 days, they're getting used to the routine in the house and the smells and things of that nature. 3 weeks, they're getting used to the area, they're exploring a little more. 3 months is the time that they'll finally feel at home. And so we do counsel on that in the adoption process to ensure that people expect the reality that when you get this animal home, it is in a new environment. It is going to take adjustment time. It is not going to show you all of its traits right off the beginning, and you have to bond with that animal to learn more about that animal.
Okay, I'm done.
You brought up some really good points there, Patrick. You really did. And with that, I've got some questions about the adoption fees.
Okay?
And I just threw it in an AI and said, compare it to 6 surrounding nearest cities and see what you get. We're kind of on the upper end of adoption fees on pets. I like how you phrased it. You got to have some skin in the game to make sure you're buying this just not on an emotional whim. Okay, because we did see a lot of that. We experienced that with COVID. It's a global problem, overpopulation of pets right now. But I want to know that if this is not working, or if we feel that there's, and this will be with you too, Daniel, if we feel there's some room that we may need to adjust this market-wise, we'll do that. Because I think sometimes the 120, something like that, may be on the upper end of what a family may want to do. Maybe there's some ways we can find some funds to help those people out. Somebody loses a cat, we might start the missing cat displacement fund for Patrick. But I just need to know there's a little bit of flexibility in this in case we need to adjust our fees. It's what we vote on today is not firm. It has some flexibility. Is that correct?
Yep, it's adopted by resolution, which you can change at any time by later resolution.
Okay.
So if I may say, with the cats, it was a struggle, and we are fully prepared that we may have to lower that. When we compared to the rescues that are in the area as far as immediate citizens serving. And so when we looked at theirs, we are higher. And we were also looking at the cost of what it takes for us to continue to offer this service. When we were comparing the overall cost, and this was actually the early consideration, was around $320 per cat. And so to make sure that we can continue this year-long, we had to kind of set it to where we would recoup some of that to be able to continue.
Okay, I think that's right. I think there's a Rocky Templin lesson in there too. You can't charge more than what the actual fee is or time you have in, or that's a tax. And long story short, we're just trying to make this thing move forward. We've got some flexibility there. Any questions down here?
Good job. I think you're moving in the right direction and got a good start.
Thank you.
Comment, not a question.
Sure.
To Amanda, thank you. You have, to Patrick's point, you have, in the last 3 weeks, now into your 4th, you have done a lot. So thank you for hitting the ground running. My thought and comment is, this is something that's brand new for us. This is my opinion. I think we need to give Amanda the freedom to do what she believes is best and right. And Mayor, to your point, if we need to make some changes, that can be done. But I think we need to give this an opportunity to see if this works and how it works. And Amanda then would come to us with any adjustments, whatever they may be, if it looks like that it demands that. So again, since this is new, I'll say all in with giving you the authority that you have asked here of us. If you're ready for a motion, Mayor,
Yeah, we've got a couple more questions.
Okay.
Harry?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a little bit of what Councilman Hebert just said. Thank you. You hit the ground running. We're making a lot of progress. We're hitting a lot of the marks from the Animal Task Force. I think we're going to get there, but I have to agree with him. It's going to take some time. We're going to have to adjust as we go along there. So I think there's a possibility that we're going to have some more conversation in the next few months. But I do appreciate what you've done. Appreciate what the background with Morgan and her group did to lay the groundwork so you could come in and start this process. And I'm done.
All right, Patrick, you had another question?
Just real quick on the rescues. So how does that process work? Do they pay this fee, then they get it, and they can do what they want? Do they get a no fee, but then they charge on the other end to get it all spayed and neutered? How does that work for those?
So that is correct. We are not going to be charging rescues a fee to pull because they are taking on the medical side of it. Our goal is happy outcomes for these animals, and if they are a respectable rescue who is willing to take on that animal and help us get that animal a home, it is one less animal that is taking up capacity in our shelter, which means that we are one kennel open where we don't have to look at capacity euthanasias. Like the mayor said last week, we actually had no capacity euthanasias last week, which we were very proud of. We did have some medical emergency and behavioral euthanasias that were not safe for the public, but we're on the right track to lower that euthanasia. It is going to require community involvement and community help as well from the rescues. We all are one big animal community that we've got to work together.
And then on those rescues, the word you just used, not reliable, but rescues that you trust. How do you kind of qualify rescues?
So the first part is going to be they have to have a 501c3. That is what establishes them as a rescue under the tax qualifications. And then we do have an application that we are asking about their vets, about how long they've been in service, about what type of animals, what type of behavioral issues, how many people they have to pull. And then again, if we have any complaints of animal welfare, we're going to look into those before we make a decision to allow them to pull.
I assume they're under the same rules that they know the animal must be spayed or neutered before it goes to somebody else. They're signing something to agreeing to that or something?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any, I know the euthanasia obviously is a big deal. Is there anything out there that people know what animals are basically on that list imminently?
So we are not putting out a euthanasia list. That fosters rush decisions and incomplete thinking on adoptions. It pulls on the emotions more than the responsibility. And we want these animals to last in the shelter. We don't want a person to just adopt to save a life, but then they can't handle that animal and they're rehoming it, or it gets loose and it's running down the street again. We want them to make a conscientious decision that's best for their household and that animal. So we are not putting out a euthanasia list. Now, you can see on our animals which ones are there the longest, which means that they haven't had as much of they've had more of an opportunity, but they haven't had as much love from the public for adoption. So, you can look at it from that perspective, but we do not put out a euthanasia list. We will with the rescues if we have medical issues that we are not equipped to deal with, say pregnant dog, or giving birth puppy, nursing mom, animals that need extensive treatment, we will send out things to them, to the rescues, where they're more equipped for that before deciding if the animal has to be humanely euthanized.
Is the capacity euthanasia, is it always off of time in service? Basically, the one that's been there the longest would be the first one on the list?
As a general rule, that's the way it's been. There are animals that we go through and see that are highly adoptable, and we will pull them off that list to give them a little more chance because, for whatever reason, they're not getting the spotlight as much. Example, Friday, we have an adoption event over at Skechers in which we're taking some animals. They're going to be some of our adult longest days that are actually already fixed, and we're getting them vaccinated beforehand so that they could go home same day if they decide to adopt them.
I think probably the biggest thing I've seen from the public is the lack of a euthanasia list. So I think that's something we ought to keep a close eye on. Maybe if it was just to the rescues so that they know, hey, if we're going to pull some, these are the ones we probably need to pull and try to get adopted. I understand your reasoning, I do, but from my side of it, the biggest problem I've seen is dogs coming in that were euthanized and people didn't realize that they were going to be euthanized. Now, if it's as simple as looking on the list and seeing longest in time, it's probably going to be those that are the highest percentage, then that's stuff people can work through. But I think that's something that we ought to keep a close eye on from the public and from my side of you.
We are also trying to avoid any false propaganda. We actually had that happen on the 29th, 30th, in which one of the longest days, who we had purposely pulled off the list on selecting euthanasias because of his adoptability. We got several phone calls, visits up at the shelter before the contract had ended with pause. And they said, "We heard that you were scheduling to euthanize him that day." And I said, "We have no scheduled euthanasias." And it didn't matter what I said. They heard it from social media, therefore it was law. And so that is also what we're trying to avoid, is the false information on that.
Right, agreed. Yeah, no, it sounds like you're on the right track on everything. Wish you all the best. That's just, that obviously it's going to be a hot button issue in San Angelo. So welcome to San Angelo and social
Thank
media.
you.
Thank you.
Mary, you had some question?
Amanda, with you have a big history, a lot of background with your enforcement. And have you met with the judges or the other people that would be enforcing, putting some teeth in it?
I was briefly sworn in at the courthouse. I have also talked with legal, the city attorney, a couple of times, as well as legal on paperwork. They have become very well acquainted with me. But I've already expressed to set up a meeting with myself, the courthouse, the officials at the courthouse, as far as judges, prosecutor, so that we can get on the same page as that.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Karen brought up a good point. You know, on our water bill, it has, it gives an itemized list of what you're paying for. If there was a voluntary, say, space on that bill or something, would that be feasible? I know I would probably, here's my extra $5 or something like that. Would that be just a mountain to climb to maybe let if you couldn't volunteer about it, you could, yeah.
Yeah, would have to look into that, but usually donations, especially cash donations, need to be accepted by council. No one employee can accept cash donations, so I don't know. I'd have to look into it, see what we can do, but initially I'd say no, subject to further research.
Karen, it's not a mountain climb. We can work through that. I think if anything, any funds that can be collected specifically to address spay-neuter, and the agreements that we'd have to have with some of the veterinarians really to do the voucher system as well, that is something that in the very near future needs to be addressed, because we can't adopt our way out of this situation. We need to make sure that we're also addressing it through spay and neuter. So definitely that's something we'll take a look at, and I'll work with Brandon on that as far as how we can make that happen, though. So it's a good question, and I think if anything, just to be looking for different ways to really collect that money to make a difference.
10 dimes make a dollar.
Yes, ma'am,
kind of
for
thing.
sure.
So, but and Amanda, we do welcome you with open arms. And if there's anything that you need, every one of us up here is at your disposal. And that goes not just for Amanda, but for the rest of the staff. Accomplishing these new goals is paramount to all of us and to all the citizens here. So we're glad you're here, and do not hesitate to ask us for anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go walk a dog. Yeah, go walk a dog.
All right, for that, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve as presented.
I got one from Tommy Hebert, and is that a second over there, Karen? Second from Karen Smith. Is any public comment, Heather? With that, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 7-0.